What if true leadership doesn't come from kindness, but from darkness? What if the real key to power is not goodness, but strategy, deception, and control? History remembers kings and rulers for their victories, not for their mercy. And one man saw this truth more clearly than anyone else: Niccolo Machiavelli. Machiavelli was not just a writer, he was a man who lived in chaos. Florence, his city, was torn apart by betrayals, assassinations, and endless wars. He watched rulers rise overnight and fall in a single evening. He saw friends become enemies, and enemies rise to the throne. He was thrown into prison, tortured and cast aside by the very leaders he once served. Out of this storm came The Prince, the most feared and controversial book on leadership ever written. But here's the truth most people miss. Machiavelli was not teaching cruelty for cruelty's sake. He was teaching survival. He believed leaders had two choices: be crushed by the powerful, or seize power by any means necessary. To him, morality was not a guiding principle. It was a tool, a mask, something to use when it worked and discard when it didn't. Most people know the famous line, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But very few understand what he really meant. Machiavelli did not say fear should rule everything. He warned that hatred destroys leaders. The real balance is this: gain loyalty through appearances of kindness, but ensure control through the quiet force of fear. That is the kind of strategy that makes leaders untouchable. This is why his ideas still matter today. Look at modern politics. Look at corporate giants. Look at leaders who dominate industries or nations. They may not admit it, but they play by Machiavelli's rules. They control perception. They strike at the right moment. They make others dependent on them. And while the public sees a smile, behind closed doors the game is ruthless. In this video you will discover Machiavelli's dark but timeless strategy, not the surface-level quotes that everyone repeats, but the deeper truths, the cunning moves, the careful timing, the hidden manipulations that allowed rulers to not only win power, but to hold it. You'll learn why cruelty, when used correctly, can actually save lives. You'll learn why alliances are dangerous, why trust is fragile, and why appearances are stronger than reality. And here's the most important part: these strategies are not locked in the past. They are alive today, shaping leaders across politics, business, and even personal life. If you've ever wondered why some people rise while others are forgotten, Machiavelli holds the answer. But be warned, these lessons are not comfortable. They are not moral in the way you expect. They will challenge how you think about leadership, trust, and even goodness itself. Because Machiavelli forces us to face a question we all avoid. Do we want to be loved, or do we want to win? Stay with me until the end, because each strategy builds upon the next. By the time we finish, you won't just understand Machiavelli, you'll see the world differently. You'll recognize these dark tactics when others use them against you, and you'll know how to protect yourself, or how to use them to seize your own throne. So welcome to Psych Algorithm, where we uncover the hidden truths of power, strategy, and leadership. If you want more insights like this, subscribe now, because the game of power never ends, and the ones who see clearly are the ones who win. Now let's enter Machiavelli's world together. Before we talk about the first dark strategy, you need to ask yourself one simple question: would you rather be loved or feared? Most people, without hesitation, say they want to be loved. Love feels safe. Love feels good. Love builds connection. But Machiavelli warned rulers that love is weak compared to fear. He argued that if a leader cannot be both loved and feared, then it is always safer to choose fear. Why? Because love is fragile. It depends on emotion. It changes with time, with mood, with gossip. A person may love you today, but hate you tomorrow if you disappoint them. Love fades when sacrifice is required. When times are easy, love is strong, but when things grow difficult, love quickly disappears. Fear, on the other hand, is consistent. It does not depend on changing emotions. It is rooted in survival. A man may stop loving his leader, but he will still obey if he fears the punishment of disobedience. That is the cold calculation Machiavelli demanded. But Machiavelli also warned that fear must be used carefully. Fear is stable, but hatred is dangerous. If a leader crosses the line from fear into hatred, rebellion begins. Hatred is explosive. Hatred unites people who would never otherwise join together. Hatred inspires plots in the dark, whispered conspiracies, silent daggers waiting for the moment to strike. So, the art of power is not simply choosing fear. It is controlling fear with precision, keeping it from turning into hatred. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to strike only when necessary. If you must punish, punish clearly, decisively, and in a way that leaves no doubt. A punishment carried out with hesitation invites vothies. A punishment repeated too often creates bitterness, but a punishment executed at the right moment, with the right force, builds an image of strength. People respect leaders who can be firm. They may not love them, but they obey them, and obedience keeps power alive. Imagine a leader who only tries to be loved. They give favors. They show mercy. They forgive betrayal. At first, they may win admiration, but over time, weakness is exposed. Enemies sense opportunity. As grow bold in testing limits. Those who once praised the leader now mock them, because kindness without boundaries becomes vulnerability. Machiavelli believed such leaders are doomed. He had seen them fall again and again, destroyed not by cruelty but by their desperate need to be liked. Now imagine a different leader, one who is feared but not hated. This leader rewards loyalty but punishes betrayal. People know the rules. They understand the cost of disobedience. They may not feel warmth toward this leader, but they feel certainty. They know where they stand. They know the throne is secure. This creates stability, because fear, when balanced, does not inspire rebellion. It prevents it. Machiavelli often looked to examples from history. He praised rulers who understood this delicate balance. A ruler who was too cruel became hated and was overthrown. A ruler who was too kind was exploited but the ruler who inspired enough fear to command obedience, without crossing into hatred, stood firm even in chaos. That is why Machiavelli's advice feels brutal but also practical. Human nature does not change, and a wise leader understands the difference between love's weakness and fear's strength. It is also worth noting that Machiavelli did not say love was useless. In fact, he admitted that being both loved and feared is the ideal. But he understood reality. People betray love more easily than they defy fear. A man who loves you may still betray you if it benefits him. A man who fears you will think twice, because betrayal comes with too high a price. This is the cold math of power. Fear lasts longer because it does not ask for emotion, only obedience. Love must constantly be fed. It requires gifts, gestures, and endless care. Fear requires only one thing, the memory of consequence. It is longer in the mind. It shapes choices quietly. It whispers in the silence, when someone considers stepping against authority. And it is this persistence, this endurance of fear over time, that makes it more reliable for a leader who wants to keep control. So before we move further into Machiavelli's other strategies, remember this foundation. Love can fade, fear remains, but the real mastery lies in balance, instilling enough fear to secure obedience, but butter so much that it poisons into hatred. Because fear makes you strong, but hatred makes you fall. Before we step into the second dark strategy, think about the leaders you know today. Politicians, CEOs, even public figures who dominate attention. What do you notice first? Their actions or the way they appear? Machiavelli understood something that most people forget. The truth of a leader matters less than the image of a leader. He believed that the mask is often more powerful than the face behind it. That is why the second strategy is this. Appear virtuous. Act pragmatically. Machiavelli saw the world for what it was, unforgiving and filled with betrayal. He knew that morality in its purest sense rarely survives in politics. A ruler who clings to TUI as if it were armor soon discovers that the armor is made of paper. Enemies tear it apart with lies, with force, with ambition. But at the same time, a ruler cannot afford to appear corrupt, greedy, or cruel. Appearances must be carefully managed. He advised leaders to display mercy, generosity, honesty, and faith, because the people admire those qualities. A ruler who seems moral gains trust and loyalty. But he added a dangerous twist. The ruler does not have to actually be those things. It is enough to appear virtuous. Behind the mask, the leader must be ready to act with cold pragmatism, lying when necessary, betraying when useful, and striking ruthlessly when survival demands it. The lesson is harsh, but clear. People believe what they see. They judge leaders not by the truth of their private actions, but by the performance they put in public. A leader who appears good but secretly acts with meaning can outlast both the honest fool and the openly cruel tyrant. Machiavelli was blunt about this. He said men are simple creatures, easily deceived by appearances, and a ruler who learns to manipulate those appearances holds the real power. Think of a politician standing on a stage. He speaks of justice, fairness, and service to the people. The crowd applauds. They believe his words. Yet behind the curtain he negotiates ruthless deals, cuts alliances, and secures his own throne. The public never sees that side. They see the mask, and the mask is what gives him strength. Machiavelli would call that wisdom, not hypocrisy. From this flows the third strategy: control perception. Because if appearances are stronger than truth, then the leader must take command of how he is seen. Power depends not on reality, but on the image people accept as reality. Machiavelli urged rulers to use stories, symbols, and rituals to shape belief. He understood that human beings crave narratives. They want to believe their leader is chosen, blessed, or destined. Think of the crown, the palace, the throne itself. These are not just objects. They are symbols. They tell a story of authority. A leader who surrounds himself with symbols of greatness convinces people of his greatness even before he speaks. In the modern world, it might be the skyscraper office, the luxury car, the endless cameras capturing the image of success. These things are not accidents. They are weapons of perception. Machiavelli knew that perception is more powerful than reality, because reality can be hidden, twisted, or denied. If people believe a leader is strong, they will follow even if, behind the curtain, he doubts himself. If people believe a leader is wise, they will trust, even if decisions are guided by cold calculation. But if perception crumbles, even the strongest reality cannot save him. Once the mask breaks, the throne begins to shake. That is why controlling perception is not a single act, but a constant art. A leader must guard his image like a soldier guards a fortress. Every word, every appearance, every gesture must serve the illusion of power. Because in politics, in leadership, in business, the one who controls the story controls the people. This leads us to the fourth strategy: be both the fox and the lion. Machiavelli used these two animals as symbols of the skills a leader must master. The lion represents strength, force, and ardent power. The fox represents cunning, deception, and survival through trickery. A leader who tries to rely only on the lion's strength will eventually fall to traps and schemes. A leader who relies only on the fox's cunning will eventually be crushed by brute force. To endure, a ruler must be both strong enough to fight when needed, clever enough to deceive when force would fail. Consider a ruler facing enemies on two fronts. If he charges like the lion without thinking, he may win one battle but leave himself open to betrayal. If he only schemes like the fox, He may outwit White for a time, but when armies come to his gates, he will collapse. The true master of power blends both instincts. He fights when he must, he deceives when he can, and he shifts between strength and cunning as the situation demands. The lesson is survival through balance. Too much force makes you predictable. Too much cunning makes you weak, but the mixture of both makes you unbreakable. From here we arrive at the fifth strategy. Use cruelty sparingly, but decisively. Cruelty is one of the most dangerous weapons in leadership. Used too often, it creates hatred and rebellion. Used too weakly, it creates mockery and doubt. Machiavelli argued that when cruelty is necessary, it should be sharp, immediate, and final. Strike once, strike hard, and end it. He believed that a single decisive act of cruelty could bring stability. For example, if a ruler eliminates a dangerous rival quickly and clearly, others will think twice before challenging him. But if the ruler punishes slowly, with hesitation, or continues to use cruelty again and again, the people grow bitter. They begin to whisper in the dark. They begin to hate. Hatred leads to taunts, and plots lead to downfall. So Machiavelli's advice was chilling but practical. Cruelty must be rare, fast, and purposeful. And once it has been used, the ruler should follow it with mercy, generosity, or stability. Mercy after cruelty does not weaken power. It strengthens it, because people fear the leader's strength but appreciate his restraint. They see that he is capable of cruelty but not addicted to it. That balance creates respect. From cruelty we move into the sixth strategy. Build stability through alliances and the removal of rivals. No leader stands alone. Allies bring resources, legitimacy, and protection. But rivals bring danger. Machiavelli warned that alliances must be chosen carefully. Friends can betray, allies can switch sides, and trust is always uncertain. A wise ruler strengthens bonds with those who are useful, but always prepares for betrayal. At the same time, rivals must be neutralized. Leaving an enemy alive, free, and waiting is like leaving poison in the water. It may not kill today, but it will strike tomorrow. Machiavelli urged leaders to act boldly against rivals when the moment came, removing threats before they grow too strong. This was not cruelty for its own sake. It was survival. Yet he also knew alliances were necessary. A leader who isolates himself cannot hold power for long. So the art lies in balance. Build support, but never be naive. Welcome allies, but never give Viv the power to destroy you. Neutralize rivals, but always keep watch for the next one waiting in the shadows. Then comes the seventh strategy. Master timing. Opportunity, Machiavelli said, is like a river in flood. It sweeps everything away, but for those who are prepared, it carries them forward to power. Hesitation, however, is fatal. Leaders who wait too long miss the chance. Leaders who act too early stumble. The wise ruler acts at the perfect moment, neither too soon nor too late. This idea of timing connects to fortune. Machiavelli believed fortune favors the bold. Fortune is not a gentle goddess, he wrote, but a woman who must be seized with force and daring. Those who hesitate lose her. Those who act with courage win her. In practice, this means a leader must always be watching for the moment to strike. An enemy distracted, a crisis unfolding, an opportunity rising. The weak see danger, the strong see timing, and those who at timing write their names in history. So far we have walked through masks of virtue, the control of perception, the cunning of foxes, the strength of lions, the careful use of cruelty, the balance of alliances, and the seizing of opportunity. Each one reveals a piece of Machiavelli's dark vision of power. A vision not built on morality, but on survival, strategy, and the relentless pursuit of control. Before we move further, consider one of the most overlooked truths about power. People do not stay loyal out of love. They stay loyal out of need. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago, and he shaped one of his most unsettling lessons around it. Strategy number 8. Make people dependent on you. Dependence is a stronger chain than affection. Love can change. Admiration can fade. Gratitude wears thin over time. But when someone needs you, when their survival, their safety, their livelihood lived on your presence, they will protect you with their life. Machiavelli believed this was the secret glue that kept thrones intact. Think of a ruler who feeds his people in famine, or a lord who provides soldiers with pay, land, and protection. The people do not just respect him, they cannot imagine living without him. In their eyes, removing him would mean disaster. And so they fight to preserve him, not because they adore him, but because they fear losing what only he can provide. The same principle holds in politics and business today. A clever leader structures his organization so that no one can function without him. Followers must feel that their future is tied to his. Subordinates must feel their careers, their success, even their safety, all depend on his decision. By weaving himself into every thread of their survival, the leader becomes irreplaceable. Machiavelli understood human weakness. People will betray when it benefits them, but if betrayal means destroying themselves in the process, they hesitate. Dependence eliminates choice. When the throne becomes the source of life itself, the people defend it even against their own doubts. That is why dependence outlasts both fear and love. It chains loyalty to survival. But here lies the next shadow. Never fully trust allies. Strategy number 9 is built on one of Machiavelli's coldest observations. Alliances are fragile. Allies, no matter how close, are loyal first to themselves. They will smile at the banquet and whisper betrayal in the night. They will share victories, but only until they see an opening to claim the crown for themselves. Machiavelli wrote that a wise leader must always prepare for betrayal. Trust is never absolute. The moment a ruler begins to believe an ally will never turn, he has already begun to lose. History is filled with kings who fell not to their enemies, but to their closest friends, advisors, generals, even family members, allies who saw a chance to rise higher. This is why Machiavelli advised constant vigilance. Accept alliances when they serve you, but never place your future entirely in another's hands. Keep power distributed in such a way that if one ally turns, you can survive without them. Encourage rivalry among allies, so none becomes strong enough to challenge you alone. Divide their ambitions, and you weaken their ability to betray. And always remember, allies follow as long as their interest lies in following. Once their interest shifts, loyalty vanishes. To rely on permanent trust is to invite ruin. To prepare for betrayal is to survive it. Which brings us to strategy number 10. Guard your throne. Machiavelli's most important warning was that power is never secure. No matter how strong the leader, no matter how beloved or feared, the throne is always surrounded by eyes. Enemies who plot, allies who calculate, even friends who secretly envy. A single mistake, a moment of carelessness, can open the gates. He argued that a ruler must never relax. Constant vigilance is the price of power. Even in times of peace, threats grow quietly in the shadows. Even in moments of triumph, resentment begins to fester. The leader who believes his rule is unshakable is already walking toward downfall. To guard the throne is not paranoia. It is survival. This guarding happens in many ways. Control over armies, spies, and wealth. Careful management of perception. Strategic removal of rivals before they grow too bold. Creating dependence so followers fight to protect you. And adding fear and love so rebellion seems impossible. Machiavelli insisted that leaders who fail to guard their throne invite the dagger of betrayal. Yet even when every strategy is followed, there are risks and costs. Dark leadership, Machiavelli knew, carries its own dangers. Constant suspicion leads to paranoia. A ruler who trusts no one lives in isolation, and isolation weakens judgment. Cruelty, even when decisive, can leave scars that grow into rebellion. Masks of virtue, once broken, reveal hypocrisy that destroys trust. The paradox of dark leadership is this: it wins power, but it also invites danger. To rise by fear, deception, and cunning is to attract enemies who wish to use those same weapons against you. To hold the throne is to accept a life of constant defense, never fully at peace, never free from watching the shadows. Machiavelli did not hide this truth. He presented it as the price of greatness. But why do his words still matter today, 5 centuries after he wrote them? Because these strategies continue to shape the modern world. Look at politics. Leaders use fear, not love, to secure control. They shape images of strength and morality, while acting ruthlessly behind the scenes. They build dependence through welfare, protection, and laws that bind citizens to their rule. And they never stop guarding their throne, because the moment they do, rivals rise. Look at business. CEOs and corporate giants play the same game. They control perception through branding, public speeches, and staged appearances of virtue. They are lions in negotiations, foxes in strategy meetings. They use layoffs, promotions, and rewards to make employees dependent. And when allies, partners, investors, or even co-founders begin to shift their loyalty, they are replaced, absorbed, or destroyed. Even in everyday life, Machiavelli's principles appear. The ambitious manager at work who builds dependence so his team cannot function without him. The colleague who controls perception through careful image management. The friend who is both fox and lion, cunning in persuasion, forceful in action. Leadership at every level reflects these same truths. And yet, Machiavelli left one final choice to the reader. His strategies reveal the darkness of power, but he never demanded that every leader embrace them fully. Instead, he gave knowledge. Knowledge of how people behave, how power operates, how thrones are seized and defended. With knowledge, each leader decides to use these strategies wisely, sparingly, or ruthlessly. The takeaway for anyone listening is simple. Learn these lessons, but use them carefully. They are tools, not laws. They can protect you from others who already use them against you. They can guide you when morality alone is not enough to survive. But they can also consume you, leading to paranoia, cruelty, and isolation. The balance between light and dark is the leader's final choice. Machiavelli revealed truths that most fear to admit. That dependence is stronger than love, that allies cannot be trusted, that power is never safe. He showed the risks of dark leadership, but also its unvain effectiveness. His words remain dangerous because they remain true, and for those who seek to seize their own throne, his voice still whispers through the centuries. Strategy, deception, and vigilance are the keys to survival. Power has always been a game of survival. That was Machiavelli's greatest truth. He stripped away the illusions of kindness, the myths of pure morality, and revealed something that still unsettles us today. Real leadership is not about pleasing others. It is about controlling yourself and controlling those around you. When we speak of a throne, we are not only talking about kings, princes, or presidents. The throne is a symbol. It represents your own life, your influence, your place in the world. Every one of us has a throne to defend. For some, it is a position at work. For others, it is their reputation, their family, or the dream they are building. And like a throne, it is never safe. Others want what you have. Some will compete openly. Others will plot in silence. Machiavelli's lesson is clear. If you want to hold your throne, you cannot rely on the goodness of others. You cannot wait for loyalty, or mercy, or chance. You must take command. You must learn to wear masks when needed, to act with cunning when survival demands it, and to strike with force when hesitation would mean defeat. Power is not given, it is seized. The question then becomes, what will you do with your throne? Will you guard it, protect it, and claim it with strength? Or will you leave it exposed, waiting for someone stronger to take it from you? Think about the strategies we have uncovered together. Fear lasts longer than love. Appearances shape reality. Perception is stronger than truth. A leader must be both fox and lion, balancing cunning with strength. Cruelty, when used sparingly, can bring stability, but dependence builds loyalty that cannot be broken. Allies must never be fully trusted, and a throne must always be guarded. These are not gentle lessons. They are not comfortable to hear, but they endure because they work. Centuries after Machiavelli wrote The Prince, leaders across politics, business, and daily life still apply, whether they admit it or not. Those who ignore these truths often lose their positions. Those who understand them stand a better chance of surviving the endless struggle for power. But Machiavelli also leaves us with a challenge. These strategies are dangerous tools. They can protect you, but they can also destroy you if misused. If you embrace only darkness, you may win power, but lose humanity. If you cling only to virtue, you may preserve goodness, but surrender your throne. The real art lies in balance, in knowing when to be kind and when to be ruthless, when to trust and when to prepare for betrayal. So I leave you with this question. Will you seize your throne or let someone else take it? Will you master the game of power, or will you watch as others who understand these truths better than they move ahead while you are left behind? The throne of your life is waiting. Someone will claim it. The only question is, will it be you?
If this video gave you something to think about, then make sure to like it, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel, Psych Algorithm. Here we dive deep into the hidden strategies of power, influence, and leadership, bringing you the truths that most people are too afraid to say out loud. Hit that subscribe button, because the next lesson could be the one that changes how you see the game forever.